Today, we're looking at a green ink by Herbin Vert Empire. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, there's timestamps down below so you can skip around to the part you're most interested in. Or, if you've got the time, I'd appreciate you checking out the entire video. You could also follow me on Instagram, and if you like fountain pen ink reviews, I would invite you to subscribe. In order to make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples. I then put the ink into this Kaweco brass sport with a broad nib. I used it to write for a day and to take my notes for this video. For the first writing sample, I use Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. There are additional writing samples later in the video. Now, let's look at the writing sample. I picked this ink up in sample form, so it came in a vial like this. And to keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X 450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X 750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at the Clairfontaine. That has no bleeding and no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo sheen. It has some very nice shading throughout it. Look at how different Herbin is from Vert. Nice. Extra fine is the same tone as the stub, just a hair lighter, a lot, but it's in the same tone ranges. It has no feather spread, halo sheen. It does have some very nice shading throughout the writing and 10 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen, same great shading all the way through the writing, 13 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show good color variation, and we are getting it. And Tomoe River with no bleeding, normal Tomoe River ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is just a tad lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen. It does offer some very nice shading throughout, 15 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen, great shading, even more than we got with the extra fine, 22 seconds to dry. Now the scrubby for both aren't really showing much color variation, although it's definitely there in the writing. And Rhodia with no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. The extra fine is a little bit lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, a very nice shading all the way through all of this writing. 11 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen, great shading still, just like the extra fine, 16 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both shows a good color variation, and we get it in the writing. I agree with Vita. I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it into water. And we see why there is so much really nice shading that's going on here. We see a very, very light purpley tone on the bottom. Now it pushes up, and what we're actually seeing is a yellow and a turquoise. You do see some green in there, but it's not really green. It's the old yellow and blue makes green, or yellow and purple is making a greenish-like tone, and that's why this ink shades so very well. The one on the right I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water. And we see that that purpley tone on the bottom is really forming a line and being there. A lot less of that purple is pushing up. The yellow is much more obvious, as is the turquoise on the top. Resistance tests are done to see how well this ink can be expected to perform on the page and how hard it may be to clean from your pen. I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, I would not use this in a note-taking situation if I wanted to go back and highlight, because look at it, it's horrible. Now, water is lifting everything except those purple tones that we were seeing in the second chromatography on the line on the bottom. Even though water didn't get it off the paper, it got it out of my pen. Herbin tends to be very well behaved in that way. Now, pen flush is doing a little bit more than what water is doing. We are on the paper starting to see a little bit of the white of the paper coming through.
I didn't need pen flush. I also didn't need 1/3 bleach solution that completely removed it from the paper.
I test ink viscosity or flow by using a tilt test, and I'll link that somewhere here. And for the inks I've tested, I have found an average viscosity of 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Put the data onto a bell curve or standard deviation for it to be easily understood.
Herbin Vert Empire has a viscosity of 1.65, making this a very wet ink.
To find my average dry times, I use my writing samples done on Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. I average all of those. Now, for the inks I've tested, I found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds.
Herbin Vert Empire has an average dry time of 15 seconds, making it normal. Instead of finding inks that look like Herbin Vert Empire, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. Now, this is a dustier green in its tones, which is very nice, and I wanted to put it with a good gray, so I chose Diamine Grey.
The second writing sample is done on Apica CD, Franklin Christoph, and black and red paper.
Here we're looking at the Apica CD notebooks. We get no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, very nice shading. The extra fine is a little bit lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, very nice shading still, all the way through the writing, 7 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen, still a very nice shading all the way through the writing, 10 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us good color variation, and that's what we get. Franklin Christoph, a little bit more absorbent paper, no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. Now the extra fine is a little bit lighter than the stub, and we get no feather spread, halo sheen. We do get some shading throughout this writing. 5 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen, still a very nice shading here, even on a more absorbent paper, and only 6 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show good color variation, and we got it. And black and red notebooks. With no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, a very nice shading all the way through it. The extra fine is lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen. Look at how good that shading is. It's amazing. 2 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen, still absolutely amazing shading all the way. Great ink. 3 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both shows good color variation, and that's what we got. That is all that I got for the writing samples. Got or have? I'm going with have. So what do I think of Herbin's Vert Empire? This is such a beautiful green ink that performs so well. I don't see how anybody cannot like this ink unless they just hate Kermit for being green. What nib and pen give the best writing experience with this ink? While it looks good in general, I found that a medium flow broad really looked the best to me. I do new ink reviews every single day, so if you're new here, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching.